Hi everyone, and welcome to the following of the multi-signature wallet smart contract. So first of all, before we write the next function, this function needs to be edited. The name is transaction approved. So now let's go after the next function here. So function, and the next one is get transaction recipient. Also, we have another function after that, get transaction amount. So first of all, get transaction recipient, and it gets uint 256 transaction ID, and this is a public pure returns, and it returns address. So let's open the brackets, and here in this function we have bytes, memory encoded data, Oh, actually, so ABI.encode the transaction ID, and bytes 32 hash data, bytes 32 hashed data equals kechak 256 encoded data so actually here I think okay, that is true, and in the next line we will have address recipient, and by the way it's written this way, so address uint 160 and uint 256 hashed data, and it will return the recipient. So that's it. This way it will return the address of the recipient. And then function gets transaction ID, transaction amount. So transaction amount, and it will get uint 256 amount. Actually, transaction ID. So transaction ID. Its public view returns uint 256. Public returns uint 256. So public view returns, and the brackets, and will return the transaction amounts of the transaction ID. Transaction amount of the underlying transaction ID. Okay, that's it. And by the way, this is square brackets because this is the this is what we return. So return transaction amounts array of the transaction ID, a specific transaction ID. So now at the end, we also need to, because we need to pay our smart contract, we need to fund it, then we'll write the receive external payable external payable. So open the brackets, and also fallback open and close parentheses and external payable, and open and close the brackets. So that's it for this smart contract, and now it's time to compile it. So let's save this and see what are the existing errors for compiling. So here there seems to be a problem. Here we need semicolon instead of comma. So now let's save this, and our error about here, and it's actually not semicolon, this is comma. And here I seem to have a problem, timestamp, with the timestamp. So undeclared identifier timestamp, and for this one, did you mean recipient? Okay, let's fix this one first. Yes, this is recipient. And again, we have the problem with the timestamp. Here we have so here a recipient needs underline, here it needs underline, and also here it needs underline. And here for the timestamp we should write block.timestamp. So and let's check over here what's the problem again. Here transaction created emit, so this is the event. Let's check the event. So event transaction, so I don't think we have added that, so there are some other problems right over here. Address memory owners, so address public owners, some other errors here, owners.length. So there needs to be, these are all needs to be checked. There will be small details, so I will check them all right here. So first of all, let's get started with this one, address memory owners. So here we should have underline behind the owners. Let's save this. Now this one still exists, and this is for transaction created event. I don't think we have written that. So transaction create, okay, we need to write that. I think we have an event for creating the transaction. So let's write it together. Event transaction created, transaction created, and it will get the uint 256 indexed, uint 256 indexed transaction ID. And it will get the so first of all, let's take a look at the whole logic of our events. So this event for execution, so we will need the transaction ID and not the executor. So let me check. So if it is the executor, so we need a number of, first of all, number of events. So the executed needs the executor, so this one is right, and transaction created uint 256 indexed transaction ID. So this one also needs the amount, so transaction for the transaction, and so it also needs a number of other variables. So U256 index transaction ID, address index sender, address indexed sender, and the address of the signers. So actually we've written this, let me check here. We've written the created transaction and also deposit. So what is the problem? Transaction created. So why do we get that kind of message? So let me copy this. And transaction created. So, oh, it was a misspelling over there. And here type is not callable, is owner signer. So let's check the signer here. Is owner signer. So actually here we shouldn't write parentheses, so try not to mix up the parentheses with the square brackets. It saves you a lot of time if you take a deep care about that. And owners dot length, so let's check what's the problem here. So owners dot length, we need kind of, so the owners dot length should be something smaller or bigger than something. So I should be smaller than the owners dot length. So let's save this one too. And so what else do we get here? So is transaction approved, and it gets the transaction ID. So this one, I think we have the parentheses instead of, so this is because this so is transaction executed. Now also this one, it will get the parentheses here and here. Save this. So let's check together what they are. This one is approved is actually this is a function, but this is the mapping, right? So we should write it like a mapping. So is transaction executed also here is a mapping, right? So it should be written in a correct way. And now everything has been compiled successfully. So take a very deep care about these terms, because some of them are functions, some of them are mappings. If it's a mapping, it needs a square bracket. If it's a function, it needs parentheses. And most of the time, even if you know what they are, you might mix them up together. So you need to take a deep care about whether it's a mapping or a function. So here, is transaction approved is a function, but is transaction executed is a mapping. So as you can remember, we had this mapping up here, is transaction executed, and is transaction approved is a function right over here. So that's it for this part of our tutorial. In the next one, we will deploy the smart contract and test it.